We now move on from Act Now for Peace to our next session, which is going to be Workplaces That Work for Women, Work for All. And at this point in time, I'd just like to acknowledge our virtual audience from around the world. I know that there are thousands and thousands of you watching us here in Paris, and we warmly acknowledge and warmly welcome you and ask you to stay with us. And also, of course, to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, who are here with us in person. Thank you for being here with us, because without you, we wouldn't be able to do it. So I think we're ready now for our next session. Please welcome onto the stage Delphine Bourrilly, President and Managing Partner, France Kearney, and the panelists of the session. It is Workplaces That Work for Women, Work for All. Please welcome now Delphine.
Voilà, parfait. Hi everyone, quite impressed by the crowd and the size of the auditorium. Thanks for coming and listening to this panel around workplaces. So the title, some might say a little bit controversial, Workplaces that Work for Women, Work for All. I think really the debate we will have is if a workplace is inclusive, and have women been a catalyst for inclusive workplaces? And does that catalyst make workplaces better? And does that have an impact then on society? So I think that's where the debate will go. So if you're not into these topics, don't stay. But that's where we're going. To debate that, I'm very, very honored to facilitate the discussion between Nazma Akter, who's Executive Director at the Awaj Foundation, Marie-Christine Lombard, the CEO of Geodis, Matebalavu, who's a partner at Clifford and the Global Head of Finance, and Alexandra Soto, who's the Group Executive COO at Lazard. And as for me, I'm Delphine Bourrilly. I'm the Managing Partner of Kearney in France. So thanks a lot. We'll have a debate and then some time for questions at the end. Maybe if we start with a little bit of context, we just wanted to start with where we are right now. And I wanted to ask you ladies, to what extent would you say that workplaces still need transformation to be more diverse and inclusive? Maybe Emma, if you want to kick off the discussion. Sure. With the mic.
Hi. So I'm an optimist. So I think to the question of are we making progress? Yes, absolutely. We've seen a great amount of progress. And actually, before we came on, we were talking about how companies are really driving that, and we've seen a lot of focus. But equally, something that's really resonated with me is that you have to keep reinventing. You can't stand still, and you can't assume that what we have achieved is enough. And actually, we're seeing that continuously as new generations come into the workplace, in particular with new expectations. One thing that strikes me is, notwithstanding that we create role models in terms of leadership, that people don't necessarily believe it until it touches them very closely. So it needs to be in every country, in every workplace, before people really feel that the change has happened. In terms of the steps that I think really have an impact, we're probably going to have a debate about this, but I do really think that gender parity is an important theme. I think that's a slight shift, and the inclusion agenda is, for me, much more positive way of affecting change, because I think everyone really can get on board. So a lot of the changes we've seen in the way that we work, particularly in terms of flexibility and agility, that really does allow progress for all. And one of the things I've seen as maybe one of the older members of my team as a partner is that it's the younger men in my team, the male partners, who are asking for greater flexibility to drop off their kids because their wives are working and have important roles and are on doing business travel. So I think when we have that conversation, things cease to be a women's issue and they become a people or a talent issue. And I think that's a really positive development.
Nazma, would you agree with that? You have a perspective from what you see in your daily life.
Yes, I agree with her, and I'm also optimistic. But if we really want to change, we need to be systemic change, and power should be equally distributed. The multinational, the supplier, as well as the brand. And in like Bangladesh, 4 million garments workers, where over 60 million, over 60% female are working, but most of them are like a cheap labor. So that concept is not respect, and that concept is not dignity. So we need dignified workplace for the women's, and we need to leadership from the grassroots and top to bottom, bottom to top leadership, and we need to be negotiation power, how we have to make skill ourselves and make better to collective bargaining and freedom of expression, freedom of association, and collective bargaining. Without this, the cheap labor cannot change. It's a new forms of modern day slavery. It's a colonialized, it's a patriotic, it's a neoliberalization, digital work. Every aspect, women are in the vulnerable. So that's the things we need to change, and we are working in my organization. We are trying to empowering women and leadership and become a union leader and sign the collective bargaining, because we have a lot of things to do, and mostly the due diligence, the now European Union and many other countries, it should be legal binding, because when workers have some issues, when they are raising their voice, nobody is listening to them, and when they are protest, when they raise their voice in the out of the street or they are going to strike, they are blacklisted, they lost their job, they are in the prison. But all the multinational and supplier who did the mistake, there is no punishment. So imbalance is not the change. And also the 17, the SDG 7, 17 goal. Each and everything is important for the women's workers. Hunger, education, sanitation, and especially important that goal number 8 and 10, decent work and economical growth. So these kind of things we need to think and we need to work on, and we need to support each other. And today and yesterday I see so many sisters are here, so many young people are here, and most of the garments workers are also young. And if I'm talking about my region, I'm from the Asia, and Asia Pacific is the largest production country. 80% production we produce for the rest of the world. But our people are hunger, our people doesn't have food. Malnutrition is key issue. We are not addressing the living wages. We need living wages. Everybody teaches us the cheap labor and low wages, and our workers get less than $100. The inflation, the living cost is increasing, so they cannot survive. They don't have proper daycare center, and children are separate from the parents. Breastfeeding rights also deprived. People are not following the legal requirement, and also a lot of sexual and gender-based violence happen at the workplace. So we need to address this, and how to ratify ILO Convention 190, how to addressing the ILO Convention 87 and 98, right to organize, right to bargaining. So that is the things we have changed. We need to be, because automation also kill the future of work. The artificial intellectual also declining women's job. So we need the space, we need power, and need to be equal power for everyone. That is the things I believe, and we need to be work together. It's not possible because global south, global north, all need to be work together. Otherwise it couldn't be possible. And all the young youth, we should not exploit them. We should respect them, and basic fundamental food, education, housing, health, recreation, saving, and COVID time, number of workers lost their job, especially the female workers. How they are surviving? Nobody taking any responsibility. There is no social protection, unemployment scheme, insurance policy. So these kind of things we need to be things, and how we can make better and better, because we believe this industry is important for women's workers, but also the company who are producing our country, they have to be believe and respect our people, not exploitation and killing the blood and sweat. No more Rana Plaza. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nazma, for such passion. Super inspiring, I'm sure, to all of us that sometimes, I think, live in our Western world where we discuss policies and targets and quotas, where some other parts of the world have more important topics to deal with. So thanks a lot for sharing that with us. Still in these situations, do we really think that workplace that work for women work for all, or elsewise said, can women leaders be catalysts for more inclusion? What do you think, Marie-Christine?
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, when you are a woman and you are leading a company, of course, you're very aware of the obstacles that are on the way to get to management positions. So I don't want necessarily to take my example. It's just as an example, indeed. I'm not saying, what I've done is wonderful, but once I arrived in Geodis, there was only 13% of the workforce that were women. Now we are 40%. In a sector, logistics and transport, that is not necessarily known to be women-friendly. So clearly, if you want women at the top, you need women at the entrance of the company. You need to have a pipeline. We've discussed that many times with my colleagues. If you want to go beyond wishful thinking, you need to measure, and you need to have the pipeline, okay? So once you have the pipeline, then you have to ensure that the conditions of promotion and empowerment, indeed, of the women workforce are there. Back in 2013, I don't think it was necessarily the focus that had been put into Geodis at the time. So as a woman, so this is why we make a difference when we are at the top, and we should make even more difference, I suppose. I was very much aware that there were difficulties to be taken seriously in logistics if you were a woman, which is a very male-ish environment, truck drivers, warehouse staff, not necessarily businesses that are seen as women-friendly jobs, okay? But this is actually staying at a stereotype level because there's many, many jobs in logistics, very interesting jobs, in fact. And I always come back to the size of the logistics market, which is 5,900 billion euros worth of value. So that's a huge market. And do you think only men can do that? No, of course not. So you have to present your business, your sector, in such a way that is understood. And you have to put a very active management approach to recruitment and promotion. So now, where we are, 40% women, 30% in management position, so not that bad, and a third at executive board level, a third of women at the executive board of Geodis. So we're not yet at parity, because as we all know, parity is 50-50, right? So, but we are on the way. And I was helped, actually there's some of my colleagues right in front of me at the moment who have helped me actually to change the culture and to support women promotion. Men and women, by the way, not just women. But we launched what we call the Geodis Women Network to start from, and this is not derogatory in my words, in my mind, in the way I speak, is just to start from the bottom and understand what we should do to attract women in the business how should we support them to move up? And more importantly, because it's not easy to move up and to get responsibilities. It's true for men and women, by the way. So you need a support system. And this is what the Geodis Women Network is doing for women. It's just supporting the women who wants to move ahead so that there is no blockage. Sometimes it's not easy because you're not succeeding all the way through. I have not succeeded in everything I've done. I could give you the list of my failures and my successes as well. But you need to be supported. So when I work hard, I go back home and I have a partner who supports me. I tell him, this is what happened in the day, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. And I am supported. And women, when they have to move ahead in the company, they need to be supported together with women colleagues and men colleagues in an environment that is goodwill orientated. So as a leader, as a woman leader, yes, we can make a difference by understanding what it takes to move up and constructing or building the ecosystem to facilitate women promotion. So that's, I think, is in a summary, what we have done within Geodis. And I think, yes, not to take too much of the credit, but if it had been a man leading that company, we probably would not be where we are today. Again, I'm happy to the contradiction, and if anybody wants to say differently. But yes, I think that makes a difference.
Alexandra, would you agree? Yeah. Congrats.
I have no doubt that you've made a very big difference. And I have to say, good afternoon, everyone. I think we all in this room have made differences. We all individually and collectively have been catalysts for change. I don't think it's ever fast enough. It's never enough in amount. But we've all been the voice for decades about what the new generation of Gen Z want in the workplace. That is for sure. I've actually, given the question you've asked me, Delphine, I've actually reflected on what a workplace for women, what is that? So let me give you my own definition, and we've started debating while we were preparing for this speech. Number one, I think it's a workplace that embraces differences, number one. Number two, it's zero tolerance for microaggression. Number three, I would say it's an equitable. Number four, it is a workplace where everyone can bring their own self to work if they wish to. When you read it, you think, okay, but that's easy. But actually, we all know, because that's what we live every single day, it is not that easy. And what all of us have managed to do, I do believe, and I'm convinced, I'm very proud for all of you, and obviously my partners here, is that we've made all leaders aware that some people need different communication style, different management style, and different leadership style. The issue, though, is numbers matter, and hence we haven't moved fast enough. I have to say, with a bit of cynicism, or whatever you call it, or frustration, I have noticed that after decades of activism from all of us and thinking we were change agents and forerunners, I've noticed that COVID has actually facilitated a lot of things we were claiming before. So the only thing I would leave with you is that I'm hoping that we will not need another exogenous factor or something like that to continue to progress the workplace going forward. Lastly, what I think Delphine was saying, which is was a bit provocative, I was a bit worried about the title here, thinking, oh, people are going to think that we are the lowest common denominator, i.e. a workplace that works for women, work for all. I would like to make sure that everybody leaves this room thinking, no, it's exactly the reverse. We are actually the catalyst. The workplace that works for women is a better workplace, and it is definitely what the new generation wants. So I have no doubt we all have a role to play, but not only leaders. It's the leaders, but also all of you, the younger people, because it's grassrooted initiatives combined with leadership that really makes change. So can I just thank you for everything you're doing in all your organizations.
Thanks for all these testimonies. I'm thinking super inspiring to hear these leaders talk about what they've done and what they feel at the end of the day. Maybe getting more concrete. What works? What doesn't work? What are the real vectors that foster inclusions, and maybe the limits of these vectors to improve diversity in the workplace? Maybe Alexandra, again.
Yeah. I thought you'd had enough of me.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. I think, number one, it's extremely clear that if it was easy, we would all have found a solution. There is no magic wand, there is no one-size-fits-all, and there are as many cases as there are geographies, departments, companies. So the only thing number one, I would say is listen. Any leader needs to listen. I'm surprised how little leaders do listen to their workforce in terms of what they really want. Number two, it is about measurement, for sure. And measurement has many different ways about it, because that allows control and also accountability. And then number four, it's going to be leadership. What people need to understand, and sometimes I still hear some of my colleagues or in other places that, of course, it's the nice things to do. No, it is not about being the nicest to do. It's a business imperative to be diverse. I am convinced about this kind of jargon, which is called the cognitive diversity. All evidence shows that you get a better company, better leadership, better innovation, if indeed you've got diverse people. So it is not because it's the nice thing to do, it is because it's existential for any business which has some kind of IQ in the business. So that's the only thing that we all need to make sure leaders understand, that it is a business imperative. Once you've got all that, you've listened, you've measured, and you're leading, and you make people accountable, you should get there. I've tried all that, I'm not there yet, so I'm humble, however.
Emma, what's your, bravo. Emma, what's the secret sources that you've seen?
So
effective?
I do not have the secret sauce either.
Oh.
But, I guess maybe differently to Geodis, when I joined Clifford Chance, I joined it because it was the most diverse law firm I could find. It was international, it was global, people came from all different types of backgrounds, and that I come from Belfast. I grew up in a country where difference wasn't celebrated, so I was very keen on the global melting point. So that's something, a value that we've always had as a firm. And also, unlike transport, law is very popular with women. We have always had, for over 30 years, at least as many women coming into the industry as men. In fact, now it tends to be more majority women at the entry point. So I think for me, vector, we were discussing what vector means. Our gender parity network is called Accelerate. So how do we accelerate? How do we make this happen more quickly? I think the things that really work, I hate to say it, I tend not to go to lots of women's events. I think for me, it's about being in the room where it happens, to quote Hamilton. It's about getting women into leadership. It's about promotions, it's about retention, and making sure that people are well equipped to bring everything they have to the workplace. And there are many barriers to that. Some of the things that I think work well, echoing what Alexandra said, definitely transparency. We've been very open, not just in relation to gender, but in relation to ethnicity and other, and disability, that we show gender gap, and we've been publishing that, and we were the first law firm to do that. And I think then we set targets. We don't set quotas, but we do set targets, and we hold people accountable in order to really measure how we're doing, as you say. And then in terms of the encouraging people to actually take that opportunity, because oftentimes I think the workplaces are actually quite good at facilitating development and encouraging promotion. I also, in my experience, have really felt that wider societal issues and cultural issues play a massive part in the decisions that we all make, but maybe particularly women. I recall when I was a young woman just feeling the immense pressure about deciding to have a family versus going for partnership. And it is possible to make choices that work for you. I don't think all these choices work for everyone, but you only have a very short life, so I think go for it. Do make the choice to do two things at once. That is ambition. That is more ambitious than just doing one thing, So I think encouraging people to know that they have those options, they will be supported, and some of the messaging that they're hearing from the wider world, from the media, from extended family, from their cultural background, that kind of baggage that sometimes holds women back, I think we cannot in the workplace counteract all of that, but I think we can be a positive voice for change.
Thank you. Maybe going now a little bit outside the frontiers of our corporate worlds or entities, do we think that workplaces that are good for women and that are more inclusive, can they then have an impact on their society and environment? Or is the society mostly impacting the companies, or is the opposite also true? Maybe Nazma?
Yes, Karen. If the workplace is improving, society will be always, there is no doubt, absolutely will be change. So that is the things we want and we try. The challenges and the reality is we need to be, will be accountable, transparency, and corruption also big problem, especially for the women's workers. So these are the three issues we need to be think. And if the workplace, no harassment, no abuse, it's not only change the impact on the society, it will be changed in the nation, it will be changed next generation, the young people's life and livelihood, get better, good leadership, and no people will be hunger economically and politically. Everywhere will be people will be changed. And in like country like Bangladesh, we are very vulnerable on the climate change because in the front line. But climate justice and social justice is not different. We need to be put also together how to make better things also. And when we talk about the workers, it should be women and young youth. They should be how get the promotion, how they get the leadership position. This is very important. And again, because the global north, they always come to our country like Bangladesh due to the cheap labor. That how to be changed. That action need to be done because that may kill our life. They kill us, and they didn't get the respect. These kind of things we have to be think because otherwise it will not think. We really positive, we really want, but the power, as I told you earlier, need to be distributed. The profit share need to be give it to the workers. But you know, we got the charity, we got the donation from the France or European Union or American, but nobody is giving us our price and fair share. Ethical purchasing practice is very important, but we didn't get that. We are begging and begging. It's not fair. It's not the things. And the things should be changed when what I need, I should prescribe, not the global north should be prescribed. Because global south and global north need to be worked together, which is needed for us, not needed for the European Union, needed for the American, Australian, Canadian, who are the rich country. They should not prescribe for us. So power should be distributed. We want profit share. We want our fundamental rights. We want to raise our voice. We want to job security. As long as not happen, it's not happen because we believe it's possible. But when this millennium, the sustainable development goal, a lot of things are taking the action, but all are failure because we need to be not failure, we need to be successful. That is why you have to give the value of the women's workers. You have to respect the women's. And I made your clothes, and you see, you look so beautiful, but I am hunger. Imbalanced society, imbalanced world need to be changed. Then it will be changed, our society. As long as the European, American country, the legislation, policy is not believed to change our country, change our things, it's not will change because this is the colonialized, neoliberalization, fundamentalization, militarization are affect the women's workers and vulnerability of women's life. So of course, I'm very much optimistic, I'm very much positive, but let's work together and make better and peace, no war, like Ukraine, Russia war also impact in my country, rest of the world, and the life expenses increase, our people are hunger, purchasing capacity is down, the wage is not increased, COVID time, nobody's respect the workers, nobody's care about them, people are greedy, too much profit. That kind of concept also need to be changed, and workplace has to be no harassment, abuse, respect everyone, and promotion, post and promotion is very important for the female managerial post, as well as the union and the leadership. Thank you very much.
Marie-Christine, if you're brave enough to to complement the idea, maybe at some lower scale, but do the truck drivers from Geodis, when they see their companies changing, do you think then they change at home? And do you think that if we change our companies, we can change our society?
Yes, indeed. In fact, I think companies in general are helping a lot more society at large to change. Because we've put ourselves in a situation to give a trajectory to our companies. So we say, okay, we start with this percentage of women coming into a company. How much should go into management position? Or how much should we have in management position? And what should we do to actually enforce that? And we have a trajectory, and we report on the trajectory. So we give ourselves objectives that are achievable, and we measure against these objectives. So from that standpoint, frankly, in many respects, we are much more thorough, authentic, and concrete than many big, I would say, speeches of politicians that claim things and never do it. So that's my personal view. So companies indeed are a critical catalyst of gender equality. And not just that, diversity, environmental impact. Now companies are taking that very much into account. And it's beyond the financial purpose of a company. No company will succeed in the future if they only have financial objectives. They are measured in the success if not only, of course, they get the momentum in their financial results, but also on many other, what we call the non-financial KPIs. And because we're very concrete, and because we have to report on the trajectory, we're making things advancing much more, in my opinion, than society. I would even say, I am worried. So I'm optimistic, but I am worried that negative forces in society, radicalism of all kinds, social networks that present women as influencers, beauty contesters, are actually derailing, potentially, the progress that women have made in business. I had a discussion before coming here with some CEOs that says we cannot recruit women engineers because there's no more women engineers in schools. Why? Because they don't have the intelligence? Of course they do. In fact, most of the women are better at school than men, again. No, well, it's not me saying that. Professors, there's plenty of analysis. Okay, because they know, by the way, it's not necessarily because they have a greater intelligence. It's because they know that their freedom is going to be bound to the success in academics, okay? So that's the driver. So why don't we have as many engineers, students in schools that are women? Well, my personal view is that the picture that is given by the social network, where you have to be beautiful, you have to be well-dressed, and you have to be, you have to have a fan club, followers, millions of followers, showing women, in my opinion, slightly in derogatory situations, is actually telling, if you're not careful, young teenagers, to succeed, you don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to engineer school. And therefore, we're not having women engineers anymore, which is a big inequality going forward. Because as we all know, companies are going much more digital, much more IT-orientated. And if we don't have women there, the companies that have a lot of women at the moment might have these numbers diluted because some of the domains in the companies that we are managing are not attracting enough women. So I think, you know, we have to be careful that society can have a negative impact on the progress that companies are making in terms of diversity and gender equality.
Thank you, Marie-Christine. I think we have consumed all our time, so I'm afraid we'll have to skip the Q&A. I'm sure you have dozens of boiling questions for this wonderful panel. So I will just ask each of you ladies to give one sentence that you would like the audience to take home, maybe starting with you, Emma.
It's been very inspiring. I think the message for me, I found today and yesterday is very humbling for many of us. And so my message, and this is my message in the workforce and also to our daughters and the people coming after us, is to be brave. I think you really have to be brave, have courage, stand up and push forward. It won't happen if we don't do that, and each one of us can take those steps.
Thank you. Nazma?
Thank you. My message to everyone, because what we learned last 2 days, we have to share to each other and how to make better progress to change another world. It's possible, I believe, and we do that. And also, the business and politics should not be in the same platform, because most of the parliament are right now, the business people are in the parliament. Like my country, 80% business people are in the parliament. So where we will get the justice? You see the American Donald Trump, and a lot of country has same problem. So that we need to reduce how to get the frontline grassroots leadership, grassroots voice, women's workers, women's voice is very important, and the women's rights and the workers' rights should not be separate. It should be one platform, because we, the women, has 100 types of responsibility. If you are in South Asian or African or Latin American woman, you have more responsible as a good wife, good mother, good in-laws, good workers, every aspect. So why not the men? So these kind of things we need to be share our views, our sorrows, our success, our confidence, our trust, and how we made it, and it's possible. So that kind of things we have to go back to and practice. And again, please stand up and raise voice for our issues, our problem, because rest of the world, the global north, global south, all women, we have an issue. We have a challenge about our position, about our wages, about our discrimination, harassment, and especially the sexual harassment. So this we need to be, what we learn, we have to practice. Anger, hope, action. That is I want.
Thank you. Marie-Christine, your end sentence?
Well, in one sentence, I would say that just having women at the workplace well represented, meaning at parity level, is just an objective of equality. I take away the gender, it's just about equality. If we think that way, we just have the objective that all these forums only have an objective to make citizens and humans, actually, equal and have their fair opportunity to succeed. So my wish is that we don't need for, soon a women forum, because the subject would have been indeed well taken care of. At the end of the day, we should have this objective. Let's say 5 years going forward, I would say we should not have a women forum, because now it would be, the success of women would be something that is very, very, very clear. However, I just want to stress again, it's beyond business. There are negative forces in society, and we should be very cognizant of that as women. Rights of women are in some areas in the world going backwards. So we have to be very, very careful. And so then maybe I take my first sentence before, back and saying maybe we need a women forum to make sure for long.
Thank you. Alexandra?
Okay, so for me, I'm going to use 3 words, the 3 A's. 1 is awareness, just listen. Number 2, my second A is about accountability, otherwise it never works. And number 3, it's action, and each of us have a role to play. Don't wait for others to do it. So awareness, accountability, and action is definitely my point of advice for today. And thank you, Delphine, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the four of you for this wonderful discussion and inspiring words. I hope everyone will get a peace in their mind back home, back to your companies, and make it progress. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for that wonderful session. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Wonderful. Thank you so much.